And yeah, I don't know if this is true. It's another one of these ex-CIA guys, you know what I mean? Um, there seems to be so many of these ex-CIA guys that like go on podcasts all the time. I'm not familiar with this one, but he says that Trump tried to use the nuclear codes on Iran, but was stopped by General Dan Caine.
Meeting Saturday night. And apparently, well, one report coming out of that meeting at the White House is that Trump wanted to use the nuclear, so-called use the nuclear codes, and General Dan Caine stood up and said no. He invoked his privilege as the head of the military, so to speak. It was apparently quite a blow up. There are pictures of Caine coming out of that meeting with his head down to the ground. Um, so, there's some very, very bizarre things going on in D.C. They had an emergency meeting Saturday night, and apparently, well, one report coming out of
That's pretty crazy. I hope it isn't true, but I would not be surprised if it was. And you know, I've heard some arguments that like, the nuclear thing is kind of like a boogeyman that they use because it's like something where um the effects of it could actually come back on the US and other areas. And just a nuclear war. And that is why people, I guess, here in the US tend to get more concerned about that. But if you think about it, they dropped the equivalent of like how many nukes on Gaza? And it's like, what's the difference between, I mean, I know, of course, the land will be uh, uninhabitable for a while in many cases, but I guess Hiroshima is still inhabitable, I guess. I don't know what the science is there with the radiation and all that. I don't know how that works, but I think that it's still you're still able to really, as Trump says, destroy a civilization without a nuclear weapon. So, you know, um, of course, I don't want to see a nuke be used, but I think that like the thing is like he walks us up to the line is like, I'm going to use a nuke. I'm going to use a nuke. And then he doesn't use a nuke and he does all this other fucked up shit anyway, kills thousands of people anyway. And then it's like, oh, well, at least he didn't use a nuke. And it's like, yeah, it's good that that happened. But at the same time, like, you know, That's, that's my thinking there. And the mainstream is really starting to pick up on this scientist story, and it looks like there's gonna be a congressional investigation now. Oh, Trump posting really weird videos? Yeah, yeah, I saw something about, like, he posted a Slipknot video, and I was like, "No way, no way," but I believed it, and then I looked into it, and it was like, "No, no, that one was a troll," but he is posting, like, really bizarre shit.
That there's a high possibility that something sinister is taking place here. This has been going on, obviously, for the last 3 years. So what I found in 3.5 years as chairman of the House Oversight Committee is sometimes government agencies don't do a good job of sharing information on situations like this. So we've asked all those agencies, the Department of Energy, NASA, the Department of War, to all share information with us so that we can see if we can put it together and find any missing links to try to solve what's going on here, because
See, they're like acting like they just found out about this shit. That's the funny thing. Is like they've known about this before we did.
It's very unlikely that this is a coincidence. So Congress is very concerned about this. Our committee is making this one of our priorities now because we view this as a national security threat.
He does seem like a King of the Hill character for sure. It looks like we can see on a map now the part of Lebanon that Israel's trying to take over. This is the yellow line, as they're calling it. Let's see if there's an explanation of this. This was on a thing of demands. I want to know who published this. Israeli Forces is the source. So this is what they say they want. This is the area that they're occupying. That's a significant. And see, this is the area they took of Syria. And apparently they're trying to move farther into Syria as well now. Despite being on friendly terms with the Al-Qaeda guy that runs it now. Runs the country now. Yeah, exactly. This is the Board of Peace way. Oh, yeah, I got two other crazy ones on the Israel-Palestine issue. I'm sure many of you seen this crazy ass Chuck Schumer speech, dude. This is like the most unhinged.
The view of Palestinians is simple. Well, the Europeans treated the Jews badly, culminating in the Holocaust, and they gave them our land as compensation. Of course,
that's kind of what happened.
Of course, we say it's our land. The Torah says it, but they don't believe in the Torah.
Yeah, it's an old book, just like the Bible, that don't mean shit, bro.
So that's the reason there is not peace. They invent other reasons, but they do not believe in a Jewish state. And that is why we in America must stand strong with Israel through thick and thin.
Yeah, the Joker colors are quite interesting for the tie. Who picked that one? Like, I'm sorry, but I can't see green and purple without thinking of the Joker for some reason, and that's just always how it's gonna be. It's like the Joker or Beetlejuice, but Beetlejuice is more like you know.
We must, because that is the reason, not any of these other false shibboleths, why there is not peace in the Middle East.
Yeah, that's a very good point. According to the Torah, God doesn't believe in a Jewish state, which is why, like, there are, a lot of Orthodox Jewish anti-Zionists, even though not all of them are, but there are many Orthodox who believe that.
Too many people don't understand that here in America.
I guess just like the Bible, there are many people that try to run with their own interpretations to justify, like Schumer was just doing there. Florida college student was arrested for making a Netanyahu joke on a WhatsApp group chat.
It's unfortunate because I'm assuming she's a senior, going to graduate soon, and now this is going to jeopardize her ability to.
A high school student
to graduate.
A 23-year-old FIU student charged with a felony over
Wait, the senior in college. Sorry.
messages she wrote in a school group chat. Gabriela Saldana facing a judge Thursday morning. According to her arrest report, this went down in a WhatsApp group chat of about 215 students, where students were discussing an event that was to take place Friday at the Ocean Bank Convocation Center on campus to make their capstone presentations. An FIU police officer read some of the statements in court.
The exact words utilized was, "There's going to be a bomb in the Ocean Bank Convocation Center, and it's going to be at Jonathan's fault," one of the members in the chat.
7 News obtaining some bits of that chat. It seemed the student wanted the event rescheduled and wrote, quote, "Netanyahu, if you can hear me, drop some bonbons for us capstone students in Ocean Bank Convention Center." Other students wrote they didn't take that text lightly. She later in the chat wrote, quote, "I wrote a dumb joke that should not have been made."
I can understand your position, Ms. Corey, and you're saying this is a joke, but to an objective person, it's not a joke, and there would be enough for probable cause. I'm not saying it's enough for beyond a reasonable doubt. I don't know what the state's going to be able to prove at trial, but for purposes of this hearing, I believe there is enough for probable cause.
That's insane. Like, don't you have freedom of speech? What the hell? That is nuts.